What's happening, y'all? Listen, I wanted to drop this video real quick because I know some of you guys have probably experienced this coming out of your discard. And for me, it was one of the times that I felt most disrespected by the narcissist. And one of the things that they like to do at the end of the relationship is they like to try to hang on to you as supply if they feel like there's any value or anything worth hanging on to. So in my situation, of course, I was basically discarded after we found out that she was pregnant with a child. And imagine going through the entire pregnancy, having a gut feeling that the person that you're having a child with, especially with it being a woman, from, because she's actually carrying a child. So imagine thinking that this person is your love interest, your partner, that kind of thing at that time, and then all of a sudden, this person gets pregnant, and then boom, the discard comes. You're discarded. This person is staying away from you, and in the back of your mind, you have an idea that this person is entertaining other people. Now, you can't prove it, and as an empath, you want to give this person the benefit of the doubt because of the fact that you're like, I hope they're not moving like that. You know what I'm saying? Number one, you hope they're not moving like that because you saw so much value in a relationship that you guys shared. And then you also hope that they're not doing that because it's just trifling to, for especially for a woman, even for men, but especially for a woman, it's just trifling to be carrying a child and then also sleeping with other people while you're carrying someone else's child. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where it can't really get much more disrespectful than that. You know what I'm saying? So the discard came, and when the discard came, I told you guys this before, that I was pretty much ghosted throughout the whole pregnancy. And her flying monkeys was playing little games to try to like keep me emotionally hooked and emotionally invested into the situation. So I had to speak to her representative. Basically, I had to, it was almost like I said, I could never talk to her directly anymore. I had to speak to her representative, which was her best flying monkey, which is her like best friend of 40 plus years at this point. They've known each other since they were like little teeny children, like in elementary school. I've actually known the flying monkey for just as long, just about maybe just shy of a few years. But basically, it got to the point where I could no longer interact with her because she was off entertaining the new supply. But while she was entertaining the new supply, she kind of sicked her flying monkeys on me. So when she sicked her flying monkeys on me, I got a lot of activity on my social media and things like that from her family and, like I said, her best friend. So during this period of time, I'm not stupid and I'm not foolish, but I'm still wanting to give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm still hoping, like, I hope she's not doing what I think she's doing. I hope she's not out here like sleeping with other guys while she's pregnant. And now the whole time, the reason for her ghosting was basically like, well, I just got a lot of stuff on my mind. I need to, I need to, take time to myself. I need to think about things. And I'm like, to me, that was like one of the first red flags, because it's like, what is there to think about? You wanted to get pregnant. You went out of your way to get pregnant. You caused this whole situation. You wanted all of this. Now you got what you wanted, and now all of a sudden you need space, like you need time. I should be the one like thinking about what our next steps are and what's going on, and because you are actually getting what you wanted. You seeked out trying to have a child. Now you're actually in a position of having a child. So I'm thinking that she is actually going to be happy about the situation, and that her and I will be on like good terms after finding out that she was pregnant. But like I told you guys before, it's literally like the pregnancy, marriage, all of that kind of those big events, for whatever reason, they just get triggered. Like, I don't know if it's just the responsibility of of having to, accept the fact that life is going to be changing, or taking accountability for the position that they're being in, or whatever the case may be. But as soon as you require more of them, more than what they are willing to give you, then that's when they're pretty much going to flip the script on you, try to run to New Supply, that kind of thing. So she ran to New Supply, and when I say, a lot of you guys can probably feel me on this, I felt the energy shift within like a week. Literally, when I say within a week of, I feel like she had already probably had the supply on the hook. I don't know. At that time, I didn't know if this was old supply that she had, been going back to, whatever the case may be, because I didn't understand narcissism at the time, or if this was just a new guy that she had randomly met. But everything pretty much just came right after we found out, like literally the day after we found out she was pregnant. Everything came right then and there. It was just like, boom, lights off to the next relationship. And like I said, throughout that whole time, I was just hoping and praying. Like, I had this feeling that that's what was going on, but I was just hoping and praying that she wouldn't be that trifling. You know what I'm saying? I was hoping that when she was telling me that, I need time to myself, I need space to myself, that kind of thing, I thought it was just kind of more of a immaturity thing, and just taking the time to get over the fact that, okay, there is new life coming into the situation. We do have a lot of adjustments to make, or whatever the case may be. But there was something like deep down inside of me always telling me that there was somebody else in the picture. And the reason that I felt that way is because, like I said, that energy shift to where she would wake up in the morning. Y'all know how psychopaths do. They love bomb you and give you a whole lot of attention, a whole lot of, so she would call me in the morning, text me all day. Always, whenever she had a free moment, she would just pop up at my house whenever I was like, I may have been on telework, or if I was just off for the day, or if it was a weekend, that kind of thing. She would just pop up at my house any random time that she got. And, you get used to having that person around. You get used to, even if, honestly, to be 100% honest, at the very beginning of the relationship, I was attracted to her, but because I had known things, little stuff about behavioral stuff that she had done in the past as a child, I was always kind of leery of dealing with her. But, you're thinking that, okay, this happened in childhood. These things that, I'm talking about, this happened, before even 12 years old, that kind of thing. And they weren't so outrageous to the point where, you just think of it like, oh yeah, she used to misbehave as a child a little bit, that kind of thing. But you're not thinking that this person continuously has developed a pattern of bad behavior throughout their life. So you're thinking that, just like I was a child, and I've done things before that was, irresponsible or that kind of thing. So, just wanting to give people the benefit of the doubt is one of the things that got me this far, like deeply into the relationship, of just saying, you know what, this person has probably grown up. That was years ago. She was a child. People mature. People, experience life, that kind of thing. And I didn't realize that at that time that I was dealing with somebody that was narcissistic, and they actually hadn't grown. Even from, the time that I had known her from a child, she was actually still that same child. You know what I'm saying? That she was actually still that same emotionally unstable child this entire time. And I'm thinking that we had been, we hadn't seen each other for so many years, and I had developed a lot of life skills throughout the way. So I'm thinking she had too. So, like I said, this video was basically about one of the most disrespectful things that I heard after the discard. And after the discard, basically, She started coming back around after my son was born. When she started coming back around, she, of course, wanted to have sex. And one of the first things that she tried to do was, try to like get us back into a rotation of having sex. At that time, number one, my son was my first priority after coming out of the discard, especially seeing how she moved. Before everything, I wanted us to be on equal terms and everything to be us working together, us working together as parents and being, great parents. But then when I started seeing that she had no intentions of that, that's when I started getting to the point where I had to separate, and I had to, at first both of them were my priority. My son and her was very big on my priority list at the very beginning when we first found out she was pregnant. But after seeing her behaviors and after understanding and having this gut feeling that she was probably already sleeping with other people, and just the disrespect that comes with that, the fact that you couldn't wait until you dropped our child to, start having sex with other men. And then I'm almost certain that it wasn't just one other man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure you were having sex with multiple other people while you're pregnant with our child. You know what I'm saying? So I just felt like that was just extremely disrespectful. So she, after almost a year of being discarded, basically throughout the whole pregnancy, so at least 8 months after that whole period of time, I'm not treating her as a priority anymore. You know what I'm saying? And now my son is here, and now he's the priority. So to, I guess, reestablish control over me like she thought she had, or whatever the case may be, she just tried to reintroduce sex and reintroduce the love bomb. So when she came around this time, I just wasn't really biting on the love bomb as hard, because I'm like, yeah, I mean, you my child's mother and everything, but where you been the last year? What have you been up to? Like, now my boundaries, now I'm starting to set boundaries. Basically, now I'm starting to at least establish and see where I need to set boundaries at. So now I'm starting to kind of set them. So of course, she wanted to come over, have sex. She wanted to come over and, do these kind of things. And while, a few times, because, like at the very beginning, when after she had my son, I was there for the actual birth. And that, I guess that just sentimental feeling of like being there, being a part of seeing your child born, that kind of thing. I tried to force the situation, even though I knew she had done all of these other things before the pregnancy came. I mean, before the actual birth. It's like I tried to suppress that and overlook those things to try to make this kind of work a little bit longer. And I kind of felt like it was never going to last long term, but I guess I wanted to be in the picture as much as I possibly could, especially while he was very young. And I wanted us to be able to get along in a way that, it wasn't the kind of tension that there is currently, without us, and without us having a lot of just bumping heads and bickering, that kind of thing. So I was almost trying to force myself back into sweeping things under the rug and acting like nothing that she did actually hurt me, or nothing actually happened, or even though, yeah, okay, these things did happen, I just wouldn't bring it up, that kind of thing. So that, of course, only lasted for a very split second, because number one, the behavior that she was showing continued, but then also it's like there was no recompense. There was nothing. There was no repentance for any of the things that she had done to me. You know what I'm saying? And not saying that I'm in a godly stature where she has to repent to me, that kind of thing. But It's like literally there was no apology, there was no nothing, there was nothing to even try to clarify that, because a lot of times they would just try to ignore that all of these things happen. So she didn't even want to like talk about any of the stuff that happened, throughout the pregnancy, that kind of things. She definitely wouldn't want to talk about anything that associated with like having new supply or any of that kind of thing, because I used to say things like, you moving like a woman that don't know who the child's father is, or you're moving like a woman that like there's potential that you have multiple baby fathers or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like the way you move and just not adding up, that kind of thing. So I was already catching on to her behavior. And like I said, so I just kind of started like separating myself from the behavior. Of course, she wanted to still be priority. So she tried to come over and she tried to, basically go back to the love bomb. She tried to go back to like having sex, that kind of thing. But this time around, I'm like holding her accountable to certain things or whatever the case may be. So now she's trying to come back in and I'm just like, nah, I'm not feeling that. We're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to take it there with you. You know what I'm saying? Until we clean this up. So what's up with this? And so the more and more I put my foot down, the more and more I started to establish those boundaries. It got to the point where she didn't want to be held accountable for any of the things that she had done. She didn't want to hear about any of the things that she had done all of that time. But she also didn't want to let me go. She just didn't want, so instead of just completely discarding and getting things over with. And what I'm starting to believe is that she tried the new supply. She had him kind of in the middle of, being love bombed, that kind of thing. She had him going for a nice little while she wasn't showing. When she started to show, she tried to get me back on the hook, because now, we have a new child on the way, that kind of thing. And now, basically I was gone for the very, like most of the pregnancy. And then at the very end, she tried to bring me back into position, I guess, because now we have the actual child here. And it's going to look bad in front of her family and her friends if I'm just completely out of the picture. So she tried to like basically keep me around, hoover me back in for that kind of thing. And then not only that, I think that things weren't, because I know a lot of people think that they just run off, go off to the new supply and things are just perfect on that end. I think that things were starting to unravel a little bit in her situation with the new supply. So she was literally trying to, I think seamlessly come back to me, but I just wasn't going for it. And the fact that I wasn't going for it, she, she still had, of course, supply, this, that, and the third, and she didn't want to be held accountable for anything. So one of the things that she yelled out, which, like I said, was one of the most times that I felt extremely disrespected, because number one, we had just finished having sex. Number two, and it was, well, she came over earlier that day and she was just like, I think we really need to work on our relationship and, that kind of thing for our son and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm already like, I'm not feeling you. I'm not feeling her. Like, I'm just not feeling the situation at all no more. So she, came over. But like I said, I still want to be in my child's life. I still want to be there, like, you know what I'm saying, especially while he's very young. She had already started kind of playing the parental alienation game to the point where I hadn't seen my son, he was first born, and then she kept him away from me for like a month and a half, you know what I'm saying? Like, she would promise to bring him to me, and then she would renege on me. She would, change her plans or that kind of thing. Or she would tell me that, now she was keeping me away from her family at that time, of course. So I couldn't just go over there and just pick him up, that kind of thing, because of the fact that she had told her family so many lies and she was smearing me to them. So she kind of wanted me to be away from them. So the real story couldn't come out of like what was really going on. So she was kind of keeping me isolated from her family. She was bringing my son to me. And so there was a few periods in time where she would be really controlling over how I could see my son or that kind of thing. So at the very beginning, I guess to try to, break me down so far to where I was completely hurt, uh, wouldn't fight back, wouldn't fight her back in any type of way. What ended up happening is she kind of used the hot and cold method, and she kind of used the treatment of like, okay, I'm gonna let him see his son, and then I'm gonna keep his son away from him for a month and a half, and then I'm gonna let him see his son again, and then I'm gonna keep him away from him for another month, that kind of thing. So at the very beginning, it was like she was using that against me to the point where of course I'm missing my child. I want to see him. I want to be there for him. I want to, I want to be a good dad, that kind of thing. And she was like telling me, I haven't seen my son in a week. And then she's like, oh yeah, we're coming over this weekend. And then the weekend would come and it's, oh, I got something else to do. Obviously, probably new supply or something else has came up with that kind of thing. So she would just keep switching the plans on me, that kind of thing, like at the last minute, and I wouldn't see my son for a month, 2 months, that kind of thing. So when she tried to come back around again, it was more so me kind of just like, I almost felt like I was taking one for the team so I could see my son more. Or I was, I was forcing myself to deal with her so that I could have a better opportunity of knowing what was going on with my son. So, but of course, because that was no longer in my heart, that was also just not going to work for me. That, it definitely wasn't going to work long term. And I had already, not knowingly, started establishing boundaries. So once I started establishing these boundaries, one of the first things she yelled out is, well, we can still be friends. And like I said, I felt like that was like one of the most disrespectful things that had ever happened when she just yelled out, we can still be friends, because now, as soon as she said it, I just instantly like replayed the whole situation in my head. And I'm just seeing the fact that like, you weren't my friend here, you weren't my friend here. You had an opportunity to be my friend here, all of these different places. My dad passed away. You didn't even show up to the funeral. You know what I'm saying? You get pregnant and then you discard me and you ghost me the entire pregnancy, that kind of thing. You send me on a wild goose chase. You send me and my family on a wild goose chase at my own child's gender reveal, and we go to the wrong location because you and your best friend and your flying monkeys decide to send us to a false location just to hurt me for whatever reason, you know what I'm saying? And didn't even have a reason behind doing that, you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. So as soon as she said it, I immediately like snapped back and was like, man, when was we ever friends? And she kind of looked at me like shocked, like, oh damn, he really, he really got, he really got me. He really understands what's going on. He understands that I was really never his friend. It was almost like she wasn't, expecting me to respond in that way. And it kind of like threw her off. So she ended up actually leaving my house that day. And when she left my house that day, she left. And of course, narcissists don't know how to just leave you alone when they're, when they're in that mode of like messing with you, and when they're in that mode of like trying to, regain control over you or whatever the case may be, or in that mode of trying to just hurt you. You don't have a stop button. They don't have a pause button, that kind of thing. So she ended up leaving, getting in the car, and then like calling me on her way home. And that's when that's when I enforced the discard, and that's when I no longer accepted her back. So it's been 3 years, basically. It's been about 2 years since I actually put my foot down and was just like, you know what? It's right at about 2 years, because this was, when my son was just hitting his like first birthday, you know, right after his first birthday, and his birthday just passed earlier this month. So yeah, it's been right about 2 years. So right at that point, that's when I finally like just put the foot down and was just like, listen, I don't want nothing else to do with you. I see what you're doing. I didn't understand the term narcissism, or I didn't know what, you know, that this was like mental illness, or I call it spiritual illness, and I'm gonna do a video on that as well. But I call it spiritual illness. But for I didn't realize that there was a personality disorder behind this or any of that kind of stuff. I just saw her behaviors and called them out for. I'm one of those type of people that just call things like I see it, and that's how I saw it. And I didn't understand what I understood. Basically, I was picking up on the behaviors, but I just didn't know that there was actual, you know, there was actually like a science behind this, that there was a terminology behind all of the behaviors that they were showing. I didn't understand that there was terminology called love bombing, and that there was a Hoover and all of that kind of stuff. I just felt like, why she keep coming back around? Like when anytime she would Hoover, I'm like, listen, we would always have a good time. Things were always cool. And then all of a sudden she would disappear. Then she would come back. And then it would always raise my eyebrows, but the disrespect hadn't kicked in yet. You know what I'm saying? The disrespect hadn't kicked in until she actually got pregnant with my son. And when I say the disrespect, y'all gotta forgive me, because when I say disrespect to me at that time, I didn't even realize that I was getting disrespected, because I had such low boundaries that whenever she would just disappear, just because I didn't know what she was doing, I felt like that wasn't disrespectful, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know exactly what she was doing, and I was, at that time, I was more so from the thought of like, listen, just don't put it in my face. Don't be, don't be so disrespectful where it's just like, F me, you just gonna do what you wanna do and just, carry me like I'm a nobody at the same time, because like I said, I guess I just wasn't expecting, maybe I didn't think that I deserved to be in a good relationship, or, and these are things that we have to check in ourselves, or we don't know how to be in a good relationship, or we don't know how to, not necessarily saying that we don't deserve to be in a good relationship, but we just don't know what it looks like, you know what I'm saying, that kind of thing, because we've been through so many people, in our lives, as far as family members and people that have been around us that have basically groomed us to accepting terrible behavior from people, you know what I'm saying? So if you have like addiction in your family, like I did, or if you have, abuse in your family also, like I did, that kind of thing, you just don't even understand the boundaries that you need to set to be healthy and to keep unhealthy people at bay in your life, that kind of thing. It's not like we're gonna just completely avoid them, because they're everywhere. They're at work, they're at school, they're at, they're everywhere. So it's not like we just gonna completely avoid them. But some of the tactics that I missed as a child was because of the fact that, I had so many toxic examples around me, to where I thought that this is how people just, normally acted, that kind of thing. So, like I said, I don't want this video to be too long. It's almost 30 minutes already, but basically, that's one of the times where I felt just completely disrespected, when she just came out and flat out was like, yeah, we could still be friends. To me, that was confirmation that of all of the stuff that I originally thought in the time period where I was basically ghosted, and I was thinking about, she obviously is dealing with somebody else, she obviously has other supplies, she's obviously dealing with a new person, that kind of thing. In that moment of her saying, oh, we can still be friends, like her and I just had a child. her and I just, slept together, that kind of thing. Her and I had just, all of these different things of just, to where I'm like, why would somebody say we could still be friends if they're not already dealing with somebody, if they're not already in the mix of dealing with somebody? So to me, it was confirmation that she had already been dealing with somebody, that kind of thing. So when she jumped in her car and she was pulling away, she, of course, called me and decided to pick with me more about something. I don't even remember what it was that she was trying to like poke at me about, when she pulled off. But I had just gotten so fed up to the point that now, to me, I had the confirmation that I needed. So when she got in the car and pulled off, I don't think that she was understanding where my head was at. So when she pulled off, she called me. And when she called me, we were on the phone, and I'm like, listen, and excuse me for this, but I'm gonna just give y'all the real story. I'm like, listen, chase all the dick you need to chase. Get out there. Obviously, obviously, it's a big world out there, and you got a whole lot more of it to capture. I didn't know narcissism at the time, but I knew that that's what she was doing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why else would you leave someone who has been a solid friend in your life? Why else would you leave someone who has, even in the situation that you're currently in, is still trying to make the best of it, is still trying to make the most of it? Even though I was completely unhappy in the situation with the way things went, I was still trying to make the most of it with her. You know what I'm saying? Not going against her. I was more so, trying to be a good partner in the situation, like step up to the plate, even though things weren't ideal for me, self-sacrificing again. I was really putting myself on the chopping block to make the situation work as much as possible, even though I was miserable. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have pictures of like the baby shower and that kind of thing. You can see my face in these pictures of, you can see it on my face where I'm just completely unhappy. Like, my child is on the way. The baby shower was literally, a month and a half, maybe 2 months before my son was actually born. But she had done so much in those coming months up to that point where I was ready for her to have him. I was ready for her to get that whole situation over with. And I was just completely unhappy with everything. I was completely unhappy with, her. I was completely unhappy with the way things had been transpiring. And I just had this feeling that she was going to try to keep me out of my son's life, at that point, whatever the case may be. So, as much as I was trying to be there and as much as I was trying to step up to the plate, it was like I was just being robbed of that experience the whole time. So, like I said, I just wanted to drop this video because I know some of you guys may have heard that in your situation where they came and was like, hey, listen, we could still be friends. Hey, we could still, that kind of thing. Man, listen, and some of you guys have probably taken that as, well, maybe we can be friends. Maybe we can be, but trust and believe that that person you're no longer a priority to that person. You know what I'm saying? You are no longer the person that they feel like love bombing. You are no longer the person that they feel like they want to invest their time into, that kind of thing. So they have already checked out, moved on, and they still have you here just as like a backup plan. So don't be nobody's backup plan, man. If y'all hear that in your situation and you know that you're in a toxic situation or whatever the case may be, that person don't have a real good excuse for doing the things that they doing, and they just basically shitting on you just because, know that it's because they are dealing with somebody else and they just don't want to look like the bad guy in your situation. They don't want to look like the bad person and if you walk away like I did in my situation, to them in their mind, that gives them like, well, he walked away from me. I tried to do everything that I could. I was here, but that's why you got to just get to the point where stop defending yourself, because stupid people gonna do stupid things, and they gonna play stupid games and win stupid prizes. You know what I'm saying? So basically, once I realized that that's what I was dealing with, and that her entire entourage was just as wild as she was, then it was just then I was able to just let everything go and just focus, back in on myself, my son, my life, my family, my career, my businesses and things like that, and then focus on the channel with you guys. So like I said, I just wanted to drop this video real quick. I know it's been a minute. I dropped the one about my mom earlier today. I hope you guys check that out. If y'all see it, man, just wish her a happy birthday, man. Love y'all. I will talk to y'all in a minute. See y'all soon.